to everybody. It's November 14th. We are back in the saddle this morning. Lots of fun stuff to talk about. Welcome, Lori Solarillo.
Good morning.
To see you.
Good to see you too.
Shay, good morning.
Hello.
Great weekend. Mark is en route to Palm Beach to kick off Global Entrepreneurs Week, and he is speaking to one of the high schools in Palm Beach this morning about what it's like to be an entrepreneur. So
Palm Beach Gardens High School.
Yeah, through JA Palm Beach.
Through JA Palm Beach.
Steve, do you know the mascot of Palm Beach Gardens High School?
That would be a no.
They are the Gators.
Are they really?
Yes.
I did not know that, man. Very cool. Very, very nice. So
yes, this is Entrepreneurship Month as well as week. This week, the JA here has their Shark Tank where the kids will pitch their original ideas. So there's a lot going on this week.
Yeah, it's great. And yeah, we'll talk about it when we get going. But Mark had reached out to me and said, hey, I got this opportunity. It means I'll miss the huddle. And I go, the huddle will live without you. We have Lori's on Mondays. So that's a good day to we try and look for opportunities for one of us to jump out, do what we can on a Monday. So welcome everybody in. Let's do the weekend update. Lori, I love seeing stuff in pictures. People who saw my post yesterday, you know, the value of showing your life in pictures. Show us your weekend in pictures.
So I could have sent you a million, but I just sent you two. So the one on the left is, or my left, is a young lady who went to high school with Samantha and was always at my home and all of that. Rushed Patrick to the hospital Thursday night, and she was the nurse. So talk about relationships. Patrick got the treatment like a king he was in that hospital. Thank God he's okay. He had the flu, thank goodness, but he couldn't catch his breath. So for anybody out there, don't fool around with that. That's really serious. And then, of course, the Dolphins. What can you say?
I'll tell you what we can say. So everybody knows I'm a Jet fan, but incredible that we wake up this morning and the Jets and Dolphins are atop the Eastern Division. Crazy.
Second place, right?
Well, it's actually the Jets have the tiebreaker. So,
okay.
So it's sort of the Dolphins are off next week. The Jets have New England, so it'll play itself out. But here's facts about the Dolphins being 7-3 and being in first place. The last time they were 7-3 was 2001. Now listen to these stats. It was 24 starting quarterbacks ago. It was 8 head coaches ago. It was 7 stadium names ago. The Heat had 0 titles. LeBron was in high school. The iPod had just come out. The iPhone was still 6 years away. Tua was 3. Mike McDaniel was a freshman at Yale, and Tom Brady was a first-year starter. How about that?
Wow.
Crazy. It's just insane. I will tell you, as a lifelong Jet fan, I don't root against the Dolphins. I never really did. It's just not my style. But watching them now is actually pretty funny. I mean, they're good. They're fun to watch. So anyway, cool stuff. For me, the weekend kicked off with charity stuff again. We were at the, this I didn't even realize. So I was at the Mayor's Ball in Boca. It's with our friend Jerry Latrento and his beautiful wife. So it was nice to get all dressed up. But the highlight of my week was a FaceTime call with my grandson. He was actually on his way to Target with his mother. And I said, do you want a surprise? And everybody wants the surprise. And I said, what happens if you could go into Target and pick out any toy you want? And he completely lit up, and I just realized it's the simple, smallest thing that we should embrace. And so I can't wait. He comes Thanksgiving week. Can't wait to see him. Should be great stuff. So great weekend for all. Shay, what was up with your weekend?
Just nothing. Just in the pool ready. Saturdays are daddy daycare days, so while the ladies are working.
Oh yeah, and did you try out the new pool?
I have stepped in it to brush it. We're letting all the chemicals and stuff get going, and then yeah,
Right.
it's good. We'll be swimming soon.
And by the
sir.
way, Steve, I have to mention, of course, that tonight.
Whoa. That's
Not yet.
Okay.
Look at the agenda. Come on.
Hey, we have a run of show. We have a run of show here.
Come on. Jay,
Sorry
look
about
this.
that.
Wake up, everybody. Get up, get up, get up, get up. Wake up. Come on, come on. Wake up, everybody. Teach a new way. Maybe then they'll listen what you have to say. Wake up, everybody. No more sleeping in bed. No more doctor thinking, time of thinking ahead. Come on.
So as Miss Lori alluded to,
I missed the music part. Sorry.
Friday, we had Aiken Ayule join us and talked football, talked a lot of great stuff. We talked about our upcoming event tonight, which is the ultimate night out. And it is the men's contribution to JA. So, Lori, comment about where does all the money go? What are we doing tonight?
So tonight goes to support, of course, all of the JA programs, in particular the high school programs. And part of that is a scholarship that the league gives out to one or two, depending on how many this year, scholarship winners. And we'll do that at the networking breakfast in January, where you guys also mentor the entrepreneurial students. So really cool program. Last year, I'll never forget, you guys all came out to do the networking breakfast, mentoring the kids. And I'll never forget, there were a few people said, I got to leave by this time. I have to be out of here. I said, okay. So Jeremy Torres was one of them. And he goes, I got to go pick somebody up at the airport. I said, I'll relieve you. I go in there to relieve him. And he looks at me and he goes, I'm not leaving.
Yeah, it's so great.
I mean, Greg is still mentoring the team that he was with. It's what it's all about, right?
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm on the executive board. I'm on the regular board. I have for years. I love serving. And I thought I was doing everything I could to help this organization. And then at Thursday's executive board meeting, Lois mentioned something about we need mentors for these programs. And I was like, how did I miss that? It is the reason why I'm involved. Boom, boom, boom. Next thing you know, I have a conversation with Angelina, is it?
Yeah. Yep.
Who is wonderful, by the way.
Yeah.
Fantastic addition to the team. And we've just created a program where I'll be able to get in front of all of the students that are involved, not just one high school. I'll be coaching across all the high schools. So I am lit up because I said, when in my life, I have learned to focus on the why. Why do I do stuff? It's coming up to be the end of the year. I'll need to pick another word. But for one of those years, the word was intentional. I wanted to be intentional about all the things I did. I don't think people are intentional. I think they wind up doing stuff they don't even know why. Boom, my intention is to help kids in those high schools, and bam, I get to do it. So she was like, I've never seen somebody so excited. And I was like, all the other stuff I do, I'm not really a traditional board member, And then the board meeting, it was I realized how much stuff I don't know. So,
there is a lot going on at JA for sure. Listen, I
on.
share your passion. That's, as I said, as a mother, there's nothing more we can do than to prepare our children for the future. We get to do that with 70,000 kids. So it's pretty amazing.
It is really, I'm thrilled. You have done an awesome job, not because we're friends and all that stuff. You have done.
Yeah, I know you kick my ass when it's necessary.
You've just done an awesome job of mobilizing this community to understand that we're going to pay for this one way or the other. It's if we teach them, right? Great, pay now, teach them. They're going to be better producing human beings than later on if there's a problem. And so I find
actually Sherry, I spoke to Sherry last week. She's going to get involved too. She's actually be on one of the committees to get all the women from the Circle of Wise Women together mentoring. So many opportunities. It doesn't have to be JA, whatever it is. go out there and mentor, help these kids. They need it. They really do need to hear from us.
Well, when we drive home this entrepreneurial message, it's not just for people who own their own business. You can have an entrepreneurial mindset in whatever role you play in life. Entrepreneurism is basically taking responsibility, self-accountability. So Sherry will be fantastic at doing this because she has come from different careers. She brings a lot of energy and talent. So lots of good stuff. If you do not have tickets tonight, call me because I might be able to find a couple of
People. Everybody in the huddle knows people.
We are sold out. And here's what I can promise you. And I'm first on the microphone tonight, so I'm thrilled I get to say this. We don't put on a traditional event. I go to this shit all the time, and it's like, stop talking, please. Our event is 45 minutes of content, and then we're off to the races, eating, drinking, networking.
Football.
Some of the most incredible power people will be in the room. And then wouldn't you know, the gods have given us a relevant football game because we have the Philadelphia Eagles playing, and we'll be around a bunch of Kashawn Frazier will be there. Aiken will be there. Channing Crowder will be there. I think Zach Thomas might be there. Who knows? It's so much fun. So it's a good night. We raise money. We do business with each other. So really, really cool stuff. Any final words on that?
Can't wait to see everybody.
Good. Yes. Awesome. Okay. So as Monday mornings are an important kickoff, I like to always have a motivational video, something that gives us something to think about and talk about. Nobody better than my man, Jocko Willenick.
Short-term thinking says, the donut tastes good, eat it. Short-term thinking says, one workout doesn't matter. I can skip it. Short-term tactical thinking is the part of your brain that says, I should just finance this new car or this new watch or this new TV or whatever else instead of actually saving and paying cash for something that you can actually afford. Short-term thinking encourages you to make short-term emotional decisions that hurt you in the long run. And they definitely don't move you toward your overall strategic goals.
So I love him. I mean, I was interviewed by Authority Magazine, and they said, who would you want to have coffee with if you could? And I said him. I'm a pretty connected guy. I don't have a connection to him. I'm working it, trying to do that because I just love the parallels between, his military discipline and business discipline. But it became very obvious to me in the way you have put together the executive board and the things that we went over, that there's very little short-term thinking, if any, going on in developing the organization. As a matter of fact, we're talking 2 years out. So I wanted you to comment on short-term because, and I'll preface this so that you can go here, you can comment on it. Without tactical moves, you don't get to 2 years out.
Right.
So I think that there's a rub there. Go.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, look, you got to focus obviously on the present and make sure that what you're doing well and you're doing it right. But if you're not thinking, and for me, I'm typically about 3 years out. I would say no more than 5. I think in today's world, it changes too much to be that far out. But you've got to be a solid 3 years out, right? If we want to create a standalone workforce center, right, which is something that I think about as a dream for JA, I can't start thinking about that 3 years from now, right? The time might be wrong. The time I won't have the resources. I won't have the money. I won't have the programs in place. We've got to start building now towards that longer term vision. So I don't see how you can not do that, whether it's your life or your business. You got to be thinking a little bit out, or you're not being very intentional about where you're going.
I think that's really well said. when you talk about your life, I think most people plan their vacation, which is 2 or 3 weeks of their year. They spend more time and attention on their vacation than they do on the year or years. Now, there's always a rub with this stuff. For me, like people used to come in and say, show me your 5-year plan. Complete waste of time. Like 5 years, like, okay, so that's not realistic. So short term, right? I decided to, make that 3 years or make it, adjust along the way. And that's where, I think what Jocko's point is that people act out of emotion. Like, how do I feel today? And how you feel today should not impact the way you want to, what position you want to be in a year. That takes incredible foresight, incredible discipline. I know that working with Mark and Jake and Shay on our vision, to your point, you can't just wake up in the morning and go, okay, I'm ready to do it. It just doesn't work that way. And so even if you look at it as working out, there isn't many people I know that love getting up in the morning to work out. It's that I don't feel like it. Well, tough shit. It's when you roll over, put on your sneakers and actually do it, that you are tactically doing the things that create your future. So fantastic. I just thought it was a great video. Anybody?
It is a great video.
It's a food for thought kind of thing. So let's jump into motivational music, because the song I picked today is how I think a lot of people are living in this society. Give me Hall & Oates.
Take a look around. I'm out of time. I'm out of my head when you're not around. I'm out of time. I'm out of my head when you're not
around. People that are out of touch.
Not for anything, but that wasn't one of their better performances.
You know what? I decided to play it live, but they're still, they're in their 70s kicking it. So anyway,
I don't know if they're kicking it, but they're in their 70s.
If you're out of touch, so you're telling me I should have picked a better performance.
Maybe one of the younger ones would have been a little bit less tough on the ears.
It's irrelevant. So I have a final thought for today that I want to talk about, and it's a means to an end. It's a metaphor, which Mark had talked about last week. Today is National Seatbelt Day. So just over 90% of Americans buckle up now. Crazy. Yet 40% of passenger fatalities come from people who are not buckled up. And so they came up with this law. You used to get a ticket when you were not buckled up, and you still might. But I think, the idea that they came up with something that was good for us, you should be restrained, and then they had to change behavior. Lori, how did they change behavior? Because this speaks to all behavior change. And this is a major point, but how did they change behavior?
I don't know.
I mean, you went from driving a car, no seatbelt, to overnight they said you have to buckle it.
Yeah.
There was a guy standing there on the corner looking at all the cars and waving people over, and you got a pretty meaningful ticket if you did not wear a seatbelt.
I have to say, coming from the advertising world, I also think that advertising had a lot to do with that. There was a lot of marketing, if you remember, about buckling up. There has been over the years, right?
Correct.
I think our kids sometimes are the ones, they're learning it, right? Because they're young and they're learning it in school, and often they're the ones who remind us. But changing the habit didn't happen overnight.
So it's a lesson, a metaphor, I think, for all behavior change. Behavior change is influenced by the messaging around you. Thank you for going to advertising, and consequences.
Right.
You know, if they just said, hey, we're going to message you all day long, you know, wear a seatbelt, half the people would say, screw it, I don't want to wear a seatbelt. They wouldn't do it. The only way, this is true, the only way you get to change behavior is to have consequences. What happens if I don't do that? So I want you to think back to when we were kids, or, you know, parents of our kids. If you said go to bed at 8:00 and they didn't go to bed at 8:00, what happened?
There was a consequence.
There was a consequence. And so in all of my coaching, I try and tell people, if you want to change your behavior, create a significant consequence that backs that up. And you watch how something gets taken away, something you don't give yourself. You know, that's really the basis.
Yeah, so think about that. Sometimes you know what the consequence is, but you think, it won't happen to me, right? Somebody, Amanda put in there about texting and driving. Until something happens to you, you know what the consequence is.
Okay.
But it may not stop you from doing it until the consequence actually happens to you, right? And you get in an accident or something happens. So I think sometimes knowing the consequence as adults, right, there isn't that repeat of it happening. With my kids, if they knew they misbehaved, they lost their phone.
Correct.
So once it happened once, twice, they knew it was going to happen. They knew I wasn't kidding around, right? But for this, with seatbelts and texting, if you're not facing that consequence, until it happens, that's when people typically stop.
So I knew that would strike a nerve. You know, Joy said that bedtime battle. That's the best example I use of people, is that you have to take something meaningful away in order for that behavior change. Now, Pepsi and Coke spend billions of dollars wanting you to change from one to the other. So behavior change, whatever it is if it's in your business life, in your personal life, it doesn't matter. There needs to be a very significant, and if you get good at creating those for yourself, if I don't do this, because we talked last week, there's two voices in your head. There's the boss and the bitch. You know, the bitch is the one that's negotiating. Oh, it's okay. You know what? I know what the consequence is, but I'm going to do it anyway. You know, I won't do that. Or this is the battle that everybody fights. And I thought seatbelts was such a great, metaphor for that, because now if you get in your car, if you get in my car, you don't put on the seatbelt, the noise in my car I'm ready, like, it's unbearable. They have made it so that it's like,
exactly.
Okay, I'll put the fucking seatbelt on. It's like,
that's so true. It's so true. But see, when I read the article, I thought about something else with the seatbelt. So you went there, and when I first read it, I thought about it in the way of business of, right, you wouldn't drive your car without putting safety precautions into place. Nice. Would you run a business without, right? If you have a building, like we have a building, would we open our building without security in place? Would we run our business without a plan or a contingency plan? So my head went somewhere else when I first read the article.
I'm so thrilled. That's what makes you a great co-host, because, two people can look at the same piece of information and have two completely different thoughts, none right or wrong, just differing thoughts.
I mean, think about it. If you don't put those safety precautions, right, or that plan in place with your business will crash, right, more than likely, right? If you don't put that seatbelt on, you might crash and you'll crash, right? I mean, so that's how I read it. That's how
funny. That speaks to cash flow. That speaks to insurance. That speaks to security. All of that stuff. So what a great Monday. If you can't tell, I am so excited about tonight. Tune it. If you can't make it tonight, I failed to mention we are honoring Michael Udine. He is the coolest politician I know. He's just super cool, super friendly, super real. He'll be there tonight. And then join us tomorrow morning for the huddle, because we'll have lots of pictures and we're going to raise us a ton of money tonight.
Yes, let's go. Thank you, guys.
Please don't worry about me. I'm about to let my heart speak. My friends keep telling me to leave this. So let's get down to business. Let's get down to business.